All right, how to be a persuasive visual storyteller. That is the topic of the hour. Hello, good day, greetings, ciao, namaste, and salams to peeps from all around the world. Welcome to the live. Now, this particular series is called the Impact 2.0 Show, where we feature purpose-led leaders who are making a meaningful impact through their work and touching and changing lives of many. Stick around till the end, and I promise you that you'll walk away with at least one, if not more, practical yet scrumptious takeaways from each of these live sessions, like an ice cream sundae topped with heavy whipped cream, melted dark chocolate, and a dash of gold dust. But most importantly, if you turn up live, you'll get a chance to ask each guest questions that are bugging you like an itch that can't be scratched. Now, before I introduce you to my guest today, here is a quick preview of what's to come in the days to follow. So we have got Falguni Katira come in tomorrow, actually, joining half an hour earlier, talking about how to design the life you desire. And then we have everyone's favorite, David Breyer, on how to find your brand's untold story. Now, let's get back to talking about our guest today. Now, my today's guest is loved by, he's loved by his clients. This is what only some of them had to say about him. I feel like when you work with John, he's thinking visually a few steps ahead and is envisioning where to go. Here's another one. John is not just a pro photographer. He understands what we need as speakers to communicate our brand. He is a creative and a marketer all at once. He's the founder of DeMato Productions, a humble soul, and an incredible visual storyteller. So will you please put your virtual hands together to welcome my fantabulous guest, John DeMato.
Hello there. I love the horns. That always gets me every time.
Yeah. Sorry, David Breyer's screen got stuck on the thing for a while.
I saw that, but I heard the horns, and that's the most important thing. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
So welcome to the show, John.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
How you doing today?
I'm alive, and alive is good in this day and age, right?
Yeah.
I call that a major win. So that's where I'm at today.
Well, I think you're doing better than live. Your clients say so.
Yeah, I don't know where you found that, those words, but I'll take credit for them regardless of where they came from and who said them. So thank you.
Well, now, John, before we get into the steak and fries of this conversation, we are going to start off the show with a quick fire round. Are you ready, John?
I hope so. Let's go for it.
All right, let's go. If you could guest star in any TV show, what would it be and who would you play?
Cheers, the 80s show, and I would probably want to be Norm.
And which character will you play?
Norm.
No. Okay. All right. When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a professional sports announcer.
Announcer? Oh, yeah. Wow. All right. So behind the camera.
In front of the camera. And then, I realized what that actually looked like, and then I ended up behind the camera.
Oh, I see. Okay. If you were an Olympic athlete, what would be your sport?
I always liked the javelin throw. That was kind of cool. So some track and field thing.
On the track and field. All right. Yeah. If you could read one book over and over for the rest of your life, what would it be?
There was a manual that I got when I took a positive psychology course, and that thing I can read over and over and over again. It's very fascinating.
It is actually, but like psychology on its own is just a fascinating subject.
Yeah.
Because I believe that if we understand even just a little bit of it, we can solve a lot of our problems, be it life related, business related, parenting related, through psychology.
Absolutely. Helps you show up in the world the way you want. So
yeah, absolutely. All right. What's the best advice you've ever been given?
Don't ever be afraid to be yourself.
Awesome. Awesome. And we're going to go dive more into all this conversation. This was just a quick fire round. So we're not going to, I'm not going to ask you to, explain more about it, but we will do it later on in the show.
Yeah.
So, John, you know what? We did it. And that means it deserves a wiggle and a dance.
We did it! We did it! We did it! Yay! Woo! Hooray! We did it!
We did it, John!
We survived. We survived the round.
We survived. Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah. Thanks to Dora. All right, John.
Okay.
Let's get into the steak and fries of this conversation. Okay. Imagine that I'm holding a pair of gloves. Could you take these boxing gloves and smash for me, and not my face, please, but some kind of storytelling myth, a bogus strategy, or a misconception, and set the record straight once and for all?
The biggest one for me, it revolves around fake smiling. People feel the need to have to flash some kind of crappy fake smile in front of a camera, and what they don't realize about doing that is people know it's a fake smile. It adversely affects their opinion of you, and as you know, when you make that first impression, when someone lands on a website or on your social profiles, wherever, and they see that photo as your digital introduction, it's not exactly the best way to put your best foot forward to inspire them to want to learn more about you, because right off the bat, they're questioning whether or not they can trust you. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think we see that on social media a lot. the fake smiley.
Every single day, every other minute, every time I go online. Yeah.
And in your opinion, how does it affect a brand, a personal brand?
Well, aside from the trust, it also just creates, I don't know, a certain level of distance between the people that you serve and yourself, because you're not truly giving them an entry point into your life. Because the whole point of any photo that you share on behalf of your business, personal photos aside, but the photos that you use to professionally position yourself online is your calling card. And it gives you an opportunity to display various aspects across the emotional spectrum, your personalities, from vulnerable all the way up to victory, and everything in between. And if you put out images that don't reflect who you are, who you serve, and why you do what you do, you're dropping the ball. And it's going to make people see you in a way that doesn't necessarily inspire them to gravitate towards you and sign up for how you can help them get past whatever is holding them back.
So in your opinion, do brands, especially personal brands, do they need to show a spectrum of emotions through their photos to build upon their brand?
Yes. And it's not just for the sake of sharing these photos. It's for the sake of visually punctuating the sentiment of every story that you tell, whether it's the copy on your website, the bio that's attached to your photo in the About page, anywhere else on your site, in your social media content, any story that you share and you attach an image to it, there needs to be an interplay, a collaboration between the words and the image, so that the emotion is firmly intact, so that when someone comes across that piece of content, the photo inspires them to stop the scroll, and it punctuates visually the sentiment of whatever lesson you're sharing in that caption or in that copy.
So that begs a question, because we do a lot of content. So I wonder, usually you would take pictures, and then, like you said, when we share it on social media, we make sure the copy depicts what the picture is saying. Can we do it the other way around? Like if somebody was to show you a text, right? of their expressions. Maybe their expressive way is by writing, right? Could you capture that emotion from their text and bring it out in images for them?
Absolutely. And you can do that in two ways, whether the text is written or the text isn't written, but the idea of what will be written is inherent, and we talk about it. That's why I have strategy calls that are extensive with my clients before we ever take the camera out of the bag and go to a location and shoot. It's important for me to understand the person's personality traits and how they operate and the nuances and what their day-to-day activities look like. And then what you do is you then create images that will be based off of what will be written. Or in the case of a client that I'm currently working with now, I went through the thousands of photos. He's a client that I've worked with for over a year, so we have quite a library of images, and he's redoing his website. So as part of his team, my job is to pair up the sections of the copy with the types of images that would work well to visually punctuate that sentiment. So either the text exists or it doesn't. Either way, it's important for the photographer that works with you to understand the direction of how you plan to present yourself through your words, so that the photos aptly match up and correspond to the images.
That's very interesting work. And we are going to deep dive more into this, but just a quick side note here. We are streaming to LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube simultaneously. So if for some reason your LinkedIn stream plays up, which it can sometimes, then you can always hop on over to Facebook or YouTube. I will share a YouTube, link here. It's bit.ly/spreading ideas with Amber Khan. If you prefer watching an uninterrupted stream, then I would say hop onto YouTube. Alrighty, John. Now, before we deep dive more into the kind of work that you're doing, could you describe for our viewers and listeners what exactly is it that you do and why you do it?
Well, I am a branded lifestyle, portrait, live event, and virtual photographer who collaborates with speakers, authors, trainers, consultants, and other expert-based business owners to create an emotional connection with their audiences through what I term persuasive visual storytelling. Now, persuasive visual storytelling is simply, the long and short of it, is being yourself in front of the camera. That's what persuasive. And by being yourself, we've already tapped into the emotional component with respect to illustrating your personality. But it's also about being able to show what your day-to-day activities look like. Show your audience essentially how the sausage is made. What you're trying to do is illustrate your processes. What does work look like to you? What does working with clients look like to you? How does your expertise help those people get from where they are to where they want to be? And that's what's persuasive. There's no bells or whistles. There's nothing added on. They're not trying to be something that you're not. You're being persuasive simply by being yourself.
Yeah. And what about this work interests you? Like, why did you get into this? Is this something that you've always done?
No, I got into this work. Well, first, once upon a time, I was a television producer, and I worked on a nationally syndicated talk show here in the United States. And I did that for 9 years. And for about 8 of them, I was banging my head against the wall, being resentful of what I was doing on a daily basis. And eventually I quit the job and became a photographer, because for the past, probably the last 2 or 3 years that I was working on that job, I started professionally shooting headshots on the side. I discovered a passion for photography, or I reignited a passion for photography that I was introduced to when I was in graduate school for television production. I took a elective course in photography, and it was the best course I ever took, and then kind of put it to the side and then worked on building my television career. And when I was kind of flopping around for the first couple of years, shooting anything that would pay me a check, from bar mitzvahs and sweet 16s and corporate mixers and networking events and all of these things that I really didn't want to shoot, but it was cool because I was making money with a camera. I discovered the world of keynote speaking and that whole community. I had no idea what that was other than the heavy hitters like a Tony Robbins, for example. And it wasn't just about the fact that these people are amazing storytellers. I mean, that ties into my producer world, being behind a video camera and shooting all of that stuff for years. I mean, I love that part. But what really drew me in was the fact that I needed to hear a lot of the stuff that was being shared with me through these speakers, because I was exposed to personal development speakers and marketing speakers and people who worked on business. So it was the personal and the professional that kind of like, I want to work with these people because not only do I get to make a living behind the camera, but I'm also going to learn a lot of stuff and improve myself and selfishly get more out of the bargain. And that's kind of what drew me into working with experts.
Yeah, but all for good reasons. I guess you were at that point where you felt that I needed more. I need to understand myself and develop more on what I can bring to the world.
Yeah, and not only that, but I encountered a client, my first client, through an event. She is a personal branding coach, and she was the one who kind of put the bug in my ear about stop being a generalist and become a specialist, and that will transform the way that you can create revenue through your business, rather than being a commodity, or I refer to it as being a camera monkey commodity, showing up to shoot, being a hired gun. Instead, building a specialist type of business that's niched towards these particular experts, and build myself out through my content and create that credibility, and then use the social proof of the testimonials to let people know that I am an expert in this particular area, and then I can command higher prices.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm not sure if you've heard of Asset Godin, the marketer. And he talks about the very same thing. He says you go big by going small, which is like so opposite of what people think, right? When you're on social media, you're always thinking, I want more followers, I want more connection, I want more likes, I want more comments, and more shares. But like he talks about it, that actually going niche and small is where you will find your actual audience. And who would love you for who you are.
Well, his big phrase, and this is marketing, is people like us do things like this. When I read that, I bought that book, and that completely encapsulates everything that I do, not just for my clients, but for the way that I market myself. Because, before, don't ever be afraid to be who you are. Like, it ties directly into that thought, because what that means is, rather than trying to be something for everybody, you be yourself, and by simply being who you are and presenting yourself in the way that you are every single minute of every single day, that will attract the people that will resonate not only with the way you can help them, but the approach that you take to do that, the experience you create for them, and the personality and the approach that I have based on my personality. And that's a pretty magical way to put together a business, because there's no fluff.
Absolutely. Because we're not, we know this from our daily lives, not there won't be a single time in life where everybody in the room is going to love you, right? That's just how it is. Everybody, you're not for everybody. There will always be people who will be attracted to who you are, your content, your values, and there'll be others who don't, and that's fine. We don't want people in our tribe who do not resonate with us, whose work or our work doesn't combine in values, and that's fine. And then those who do, they will automatically be attracted to us, and probably we would end up working together in different varying basis. But that's the whole idea, that we do not need to be liked, loved, and trusted by everybody in the world.
Yeah, I mean, and one of the things that I always say to other photographers is, there's always this impression that, oh, I want to work with anyone that could pay me. Do you really? I don't work with a lot of people because they're going to be a pain in the ass, and it's not going to work. So qualification is a two-way street, and one of the ways that you as the person, trying to attract an audience and a community and grow and build it to convert into paid clients.
Yeah.
By putting up those roadblocks, or otherwise known as you just simply sharing your thoughts and your feelings and your expertise in your own voice.
Yeah.
That's a roadblock for some people, and for others, it's a step up to even bring them closer into your world. And that's the key. Find those people.
Finding those people, absolutely. By the way, I love the content that you produce for your website, for the blogs, posts that you've written. It just and it very clearly actually depicts what kind of people you want to work with, and what kind of people will find that you are the right person for them to work with. So it's very interesting. Daniel saying, at the end of the day, it's about what best resonates with you and what you value. Passion for what you do is a true embodiment of who you are. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, John, is it possible to add credibility to your brand through photos?
Absolutely. There's a couple of ways that happens. First, the credibility, the immediate credibility of you actually showing people that you are the person that you are. So if you are a facilitator forget the stage stuff for now. So we're just talking virtual. So if you're a virtual keynote presenter, or if you have a mastermind, or you do webinars, or you have any other type of online virtual program, the way to illustrate that to your audience is by having high quality photos that illustrate the experience your audience will have while listening to you share your insights on a screen. So that's number one. So there's that component. But now when we're talking about lifestyle photography, one of the ways that you can create that credibility is within it's the aesthetics of the image. That definitely has a very huge part of it. I talked to a colleague of mine yesterday, and she brought up the phrase celebritizing your brand. And I never used that before, but I kind of dig it, and it really makes a lot of sense, because celebritizing your brand means it directly relates to the aesthetics of the shot, and really positioning you as in a very high quality photo will subconsciously tell people that, hey, this person's a big deal. And it helps establish your authority in your space. Now, the other way to establish your authority in your space is by showing people the other ways that you work with them, and create that opportunity for people to preview what it looks like to work with you. So between all of those different things, that would really help create that credibility between you and your audience.
So, like on social media, we see it every day, especially on Instagram. You see people or, these online influencers having their photos taken on the beach, on the yacht, in Ferraris, right? Fine if you want to, you want to spend money and go about doing all of that. And if you feel that depicts your brand, but like how important, how relevant it is for a personal brand to have such an extravagant type of photo shoot, and can we do without it?
My opinion on stuff like that is very simple. If it works for your brand, do it. And by brand, I mean if it works for your personality, your lifestyle inclinations, if that's the way you live your life, then that's what you need to photograph. You know, like Gary Vee has himself all over the place. In planes, he's in cars and in cabs, he's running around all over the place. You know, that works for him. There are other people that pose in front of their planes, you know, and or in front of their fleet of fancy cars. That works for them. That's their jam. That's great. But for the vast majority of the people that I serve, that is not what their reality looks like. So we don't photograph it. That's, again, going back to the immense strategy that I do with clients, that's where we unearth those nuances. You know, what does your life look like? And then once we get out the very important pieces of what your life looks like, that's what we photograph. Nothing more, nothing less. It's not about putting on a show. And that's how I approach it.
I love that. It's not about putting on a show, but it's about being authentic to what your life looks like, and let's portray that through the photographs rather than being ingenuine.
Yeah, if you had to rent that plane or that car, don't take a damn photo. It's such a life. That's a rent. Stop it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Yeah. So you're all about, so this is what I wanted to know, because, you know, a lot of the times it's about when people are looking to do photo shoots, right? And they're thinking, okay, maybe I need to hire something. Maybe I need to hire a venue, or maybe I need to do really something extravagant to make sure my photo shoot comes out really well. But how can we do this? As you know, I'm talking about from speakers, coaches, consultants, everybody who is looking to grow their personal brand, and they're going virtual online now. Right? How can we do this without having, by staying authentic, but without having to make up for what we believe is not there, right?
Well, that's an important point. What do you think is not there? It's about establishing that and then kind of parsing out whether or not that's something that we need to, you know, factor in when we're putting together a comprehensive shot sheet for the session. But really what it boils down to is, I mean, I want to photograph the notebooks and the pens that you use to write your ideas in your journal. I want to see the laptop that you use that has the worn down keys on it. I want to see the outfits that you wear in front of clients and the presentable ones that you wear at home. You know, I want to see all of that, because that's what you need, because that's who you are. It does not have to be any more complicated than that, because the reality is a lifestyle session is complicated on its own for other reasons, because generally speaking, you'll have me in your face for up to 6 hours, flopping around on the floor, rolling around, putting cameras behind your head, shooting up, down, left, right. You're standing and sitting. We're walking. We're in different locations. All of that, meat, you say steak and fries, I say meat and potatoes. Either way, we're speaking the same language. But that's the bulk of what we're trying to capture. And it really doesn't need to be any more over the top than that.
Yeah. And how do you make your clients comfortable if you're there with them for 6 hours, literally in their face? You know, not a lot of people may be comfortable with that. So how do you make this work for them?
Well, the first step is to make sure within that initial consultation call that there is a rapport, to make sure that there is a dialogue and the ability to be able for me to communicate easily to that person. So, because if there is no rapport, there is no shoot. So that's number one. It always starts with making sure that the photographer and the client are a good fit to work together in the first place. And that goes beyond the portfolio and the price tag. That's an interpersonal thing. That's a human thing. And you can have the most famous portrait photographer come down from the heavens, have a team of people working around them, have as many lights and as many location options as you want. But if you don't get along with that person behind the camera, everything's going to look like crap. So, number one. And then from there, I mean, that's the biggest part, really.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I wanted to talk more about, because a lot of the people in our audience and people I serve, the brands that I serve, everybody is now sort of, thanks to COVID, forced to go online. Some of them were already present online. A lot of them are now going online to the virtual world. So how can they tell their stories in a visually compelling way that helps them stand out and gain credibility going forward, let's say going into 2021?
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned before, there is the virtual photography component that I've recently incorporated into my business because, well, my people moved to virtual, so I went with them. And that really is a very important part. Grabbing the phone and like snapping photos of the screen are fine. That archives the event, and that's good. But if you really want to capture the moment and really give something for your audience to sink their teeth into and really give them that vibe of what it would look like to experience you on a screen, that's where these high-level virtual portraits come into play. And that's why I photograph my laptop on a folding table throughout my apartment from various angles, kind of taking advantage of the architecture in the room to it's obviously a home. And we want that because that's how people are experiencing insights and presenters and other experts in this day and age. So it's really important to think about the virtual component to your content portfolio in order to truly represent where you are. And by the way, moving forward, this is going to be a thing, period. And by the way, it was a thing 10 years before COVID.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, and I didn't really pay attention to it much, but I've had, I've shot about 146 of these things. And getting tired of shooting screens, but I'm also very grateful for the opportunity. But it's a screen. It's weird still to this day. But the thing about it is, there are some clients that I've brought on over the past couple of months, and they're like, I've been wanting to have photos of this experience. I've been on Zoom since it first started, and I have never been able to find anyone, so I've been just using my phone the whole time. So this moving forward is going to be a huge component, and I've already incorporated it into my branded lifestyle portrait sessions. So it's not just virtual on its own, it's now incorporated into the other photography services I do as well.
Which I think it sounds amazing, because I had actually personally had not heard of it. So I think that offline shoot plus the virtual shoot and the content that you're already producing makes a very good mix to show people who you really are and what you stand for, and what, like you said, what your life looks like. So it's a great way to encompass all of that by using all those together.
Yeah, you paint with a broader stroke when you do that. And again, the goal is to create an emotional connection with your audience, to inspire them to want to learn more about you. And one of the ways that you do that is by giving your audience as many entry points into your life and your business as possible, and leveraging both in-person portraits as well as the virtual component, as well as eventually the live event and facilitation component, all put together. You now have something magical that really captures everything within your sphere of your business.
So would you say, like, now a lot of virtual speaking events are happening because all the offline speaking events have gone online? So are you able to capture that for, say, speakers and coaches who may be lining up all their virtual speaking gigs in 2021? And how do you help them?
Yeah. It's challenging to shoot a screen, but the philosophy behind, and the reason why it's challenging is because there's many different layers of pass-throughs here. We have the person on the other end with their camera and their lighting and their staging. Then we have their Wi-Fi connection.
Mm.
Then we have my laptop with my Wi-Fi connection, and then my lighting and then the ambient space around it. So there's many more variables, and with the tech part, sometimes it gets slow, sometimes it's fast, so that can become challenging to capture the photograph and get it sharp and focused. But when they are in focus, they can behave and act in the same exact way as a photo from someone on a stage in front of 1,000 people. Why? Because we're capturing the speaker in his or her element, doing his or her thing, sharing his or her expertise in a presentation mode. So we have the body language, we have the facial expression, we have the hands, we've got the whole thing going. So those visual cues, that body language, that expression, all of that stuff speaks to people. And again, those photos visually punctuate the sentiment of every story that you want to tell based on that emotion conveyed in their hands, or them doing this, or whatever the gestures are. All of that stuff signals people in subconsciously, and it's those subconscious cues that you're playing to by pairing it with the corresponding text that's going to really resonate with them.
Okay. So John, in your opinion, what is visually relevant content and what is totally irrelevant?
Visually relevant content?
For brands.
Honestly, if we're talking about a person, it's a case-by-case basis. Everybody is different. For example, I could shoot the goofiest of expressions off of one speaker who is extremely demonstrative when they're in front of the camera. But if I try to do that with someone else, it's going to look absolutely ridiculous and out of sorts. So to truly answer that, it would really be dependent upon who the person is that you're talking about, and kind of parsing out what's relevant to them, and not just in their expression, but getting back to the Ferrari and all that other fancy crap, like that's not relevant for most people. So we wouldn't shoot that. But it's all about figuring out who you are, who you serve, why you do what you do. Start there, and that will answer a lot of your questions, and it will help figure out all of the wardrobe ideas, all of the locations, all of the different activities that happen in front of the camera. All of those things will come out once we really identify those three core elements, and we go from there.
Wow. So what I'm getting at is it's a photography, the kind of personal branding photography that you do. It's not just about John turning up to your house or wherever and with his camera, and then he just starts shooting pics. It's about understanding who that person is. What do they value? What do they want their audience to look like? It's a lot of work. It seems like goes into first understanding the client before you actually turn up with your camera and start shooting.
And understanding who their audience is and what has been successful in getting their attention in the past. And we kind of throw that all into a pot, cook it up, and then next thing you know, we got the meal, which is the photos, the types of photos that we capture throughout their sessions.
Yeah. That's brilliant. All right, John, as you know, this particular series we're delivering is called Impact 2.0. Could you share with our viewers and listeners maybe a story, a moment, or an encounter that had a profound impact and changed the course of your life?
Yeah. It was December 19th, 2013. My mother died of cancer after a several-month bout with it in hospitals and ultimately in the hospice. And towards the end, I was in the hospice, and I was by her bedside, and I kind of was just thinking, because at this point she was non-responsive, so I was just kind of sitting there. And I was thinking to myself, what am I doing with my life? Like, why am I consistently going to a job that I'm resentful for? I mean, I'm grateful for it now for other reasons, but when I was in the weeds, I was very resentful. I was very unhappy. I didn't feel creatively fulfilled. I was basically there collecting a six-figure check and great health insurance. And then I thought to myself, if I were in my mom's position right now and I was on my way out, I would have a list of regrets that would be way too long to even go through. So I realized that I had to make a change, and it was that moment that the seed was planted. And 8 months after that moment is when I quit my television job.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Jumped out the window, basically.
Well, sometimes it often happens with all of. Sometimes it takes something big, a big event to occur in our lives for us to realize what we're meant to do in this world, who we're supposed to help.
Yeah. Sometimes, in most cases, oftentimes, you need to run to your head in order to make a move. That's what it was.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm sure your mom's very proud of you, Joan.
I do wonder, because I come from a family of stability. Get the paycheck, don't screw around, get that health insurance, that you need that.
Yeah.
The complete antithesis of that.
Of that. But look at what you're doing. You're doing some amazing work, and it's so purpose driven. This is what I love about what you're doing, that it's so purpose driven, and the kind of people that you work with, it seems like all of them are very purpose driven as well. So what could be more, what could be more better than that?
No, and at the end of the day, above all else, the whole point of this is to take the pictures, and the fact that I'm taking pictures with a purpose for people that help other people just makes it feel completely fulfilling, because that is a life of service, and it's a life of service that fits very, very well on me. So I'm very grateful that I actually gave myself the opportunity to do something like this, even when sometimes it is the most difficult, crazy, insane, kind of trying to figure these things out, and you don't know what's going to happen next. Yeah. At the end of the day, when it's your baby, it's a pretty amazing thing. So.
Wow. Bennett is asking a question. Is it persuasive or engaging storytelling? One is advocacy, which suggests the story is not based in fact or truth. And where does relevance come to play in this equation?
No, I would say persuasive, because ultimately the way that I frame the value of photos within your overall marketing strategy is a photo is most likely never going to inspire someone to sign the dotted line. Will inspire them to at least pick up the pen. And that's where the persuasion comes into play. It's curiosity. It sparks curiosity. And that's why I think it's a little more powerful than just saying engaging. Engaging is engaging, but persuasive leads to conversion over time.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. And even in marketing, we talk about marketing from the psychological point of view. It's all about persuasion, and you can persuade in many different ways. And it's different. It's not when persuasion is about letting other person believe what they believe in and making the decision for themselves. It's not you telling them, okay, do this, but it's much more than that. And sometimes it can be a little confusing. Now, folks, remember that you can access the bite-sized takeaways of these conversations on my YouTube channel, the link for which is here on the screen, bit.ly/spreading ideas with Amber Khan. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon, please, to notify you when the next video is available. And here is a sneak preview of what's to come when it comes to our lives. So we've got, where have we? We have got Philguni Katira come in tomorrow to talk about how to design the life you desire. Don't forget to miss this one. And then we have David Breyer joining us on the 9th of December talking about how to find your brand's untold story. Now, all right, it is that time of the interview for us. And you may be thinking, what is it? Gossip time, or share the fun pickup lines time, or tell an embarrassing joke time? Unfortunately, we are not that type of a show. Not yet anyway. But what it is time for is the 48-hour challenge time. So, John, this is where I ask you to share what is that one thing that our viewers and listeners can implement in the next 48 hours that doesn't, cost them an arm and a leg or requires a large team to execute it?
Okay. All right. My idea for the 48-hour challenge, we spoke about headshots before and digital introductions and how important they are. So my challenge to everyone in the audience is to assess the value of the headshot that you're currently using. Take a peek at it and answer these couple questions. Number one, are you looking directly into the camera? Number two, does your face populate the majority of the frame, or is it very small in the frame?
Oh, I see. Okay.
The third piece is there anything else in the shot, like hands or props or like any other type of appendage that's other than your face?
Mhm.
If there's any nose in there, then it might be a good idea for you to kind of rethink your headshot. Also, another question to ask yourself is, when you look at that expression on your face, do you recognize that person? And would you trust that person if you didn't know him or her?
Ooh,
Yeah, so you add those four together. I mixed it up, but
that is a very interesting challenge.
yeah, and the point is,
Mhm.
Actually, in the fifth piece, now if we got 48 hours, share it with 5 of your friends and colleagues and ask them what is the impression that they get in one word based on that photo.
Photo. Wow.
Yeah, and what you can do with that is, if the answers coming back aren't revolving around something around trustworthy, confident, happy, nice person, something powerful, authority, anything that you really want to hear about your headshot, then you change the headshot. And then what you do is look through your image library and eliminate any shots that are super wide, have you doing something like this or something like this, or doing something like this. Don't ever use photos with your arms crossed, by the way. That's a whole other show, so I won't get into it. But let's
Right.
sending the wrong message to your audience. But find the photos where, if this were the headshot, so basically what you would want in terms of size would be something where it's like kind of like in this general vicinity, right?
Oh, right. Okay.
Or, I mean, obviously you don't have to be in the center, but the point is, you see how much my face populates, as opposed to something like this where I'm all the way back here. You don't.
Yeah.
The point of your headshot is for people to directly engage you. So if your face is back here, they don't have much to see. But when your face is up in this area right here, they have everything, especially with the expression that you make. So flattering photo, shot that your face populates the screen.
Yeah.
Authentic expressions on your face, no fake smiling. I die a little bit on the inside every time I see a fake smile. No hands in the shot or arms or doing anything else. And then if the first shot was a no, send it back. Send this photo to the same 5 people that you reached out to initially, and then see what they say and see if the difference is there.
I think that's the most interesting challenge we've ever had on this show so far.
I made up part of it. Part of it I already had, but it's an essential piece. I mean, and it's step 1. So of your marketing plan.
Cool. I'm going to have some fun with it. Now, John, where can our fantabulous viewers and listeners find you?
Well,
I've got your website here.
Yep, that's good. I was going to say, if you're really lazy, you just type in #absolutely on Google, and you'll find me everywhere. But basically, you can find me on the website. I have a blog. I write a blog 3 times a week related to content for speakers, authors, trainers, expert-based business owners. And you can sign up for that also on my website. And at the bottom of every page on my website are all my socials. So I encourage you to follow me and do all that fun connecting stuff on the socials.
Awesome, awesome. So as you heard John, you can find all about him on his website, John DeMato. all your social links, all John's social links, right? And you can subscribe to his email newsletter on there. And he does have some great content there. So I would urge you to go check his website out and just binge read and watch all the stuff that he's got on his website. Thank you, John, for joining me and sharing your genius and your fabulous self with us today.
Well, thank you for having me, Amber. This was great.
Okay, toodaloo for now.
Toodaloo.